The relentless rain made our heads and bodies shiver, especially since the overcoats we wore were getting heavier and heavier, pressing down on our shoulders, and the moisture had seeped into our bodies, and our chins were shivering from the cold. But we didn't move from our seats. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, we stood there like cats in the rain. It's funny, when we were leaving our city for the plane, the weather was clear, the sun was hot, and even in a shirt, a person would sweat profusely. Here, it was the complete opposite. About half an hour later, an officer came out of the barracks, called each of us to him, looked at our appearance carefully, and then ordered us to enter the barracks. In the office, we were greeted by a man with a blonde mustache, a bald head, about 2 meters tall, a neat uniform, and shiny boots. His laugh was very different, gentle, but it made a person tremble. He shook hands with each of us and said, "My name is Major Batinkov, Vladimir Anatolievich. I will be with you from now on until you finish your military service. You will get to know my character and work style gradually, that is, during your service. First of all, I would like to emphasize to you that our unit is not at all like other military units. That is why young men who are seriously involved in sports are accepted into this unit." And there were also some sports: karate, judo, boxing. In general, we don't have much of these. The special examination is the most important. You, my dear friends, have overcome all such tests, for which I congratulate you, the major said, shaking each of our hands once again. I was very happy, like everyone else. That day, we were left alone. The young soldiers who had just joined the service got to know each other. Out of 15, 3 were Russian, the rest were representatives of other nationalities. There was no one from our Central Asian side except me. It was good that I lived in the district center. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to communicate with the people here at all, because when I was in the village, I barely spoke Russian. The next day, they took us to a forest, 30 kilometers from the city of Rotanov. Along the way, we agreed on how to deal with the old men. But we were worried in vain. We didn't meet anyone except 3 officers. Yes, we thought that now we would live like a Khan and our hut would be a square. No, it turned out the next day that we had considered dumplings raw. At 6 in the morning, they took us outside in shorts and made us run barefoot. In general, since I had loved running since I was young, I didn't feel any difficulty. Only I didn't like stepping on the icy ground in the morning. In addition, running on wet sand in the forest was also quite difficult. Before we flew to Germany, I thought that these places would have soil like ours. However, there is no soil here. It is all black sand. After running through a dense forest, we came across a small river. At the order of the sergeant, we jumped into the water. The water, unfortunately, was freezing. We froze like chickens. Then we got out of the water and ran back again. When we reached the barracks, which were built of 2-story red bricks and were extremely well made, I wonder what they made the bricks from, if not soil. It became clear that no matter how much we had been involved in sports since our youth, we were still raw. We did various exercises on the sports ground next to the barracks, and were really tired. After breakfast, political training began. Unlike yesterday, the weather had cleared up. Sunlight was pouring in through the windows, making you feel sleepy. No matter how hard I tried to stay awake, my eyes kept closing. I looked around, thinking I was getting sleepy, but others were also sleeping. Some had put their heads on the table and were lying down. At one point, "Everyone get up!" the order was given. We jumped up and stood still. Line up outside in the number 2 uniform. On the first day, we were told about 4 different ways to dress. The first, only in shorts. The second, in trousers and boots. The third, in trousers, boots, and a coat, a silk or cotton shirt, suit, and the last one with a coat on top of everything. As a punishment for sleeping during a political lesson, you will run 5 kilometers without breaking the line. If any of you fall behind, the same distance will be added. The run began. The sleep that had imposed such a punishment on us flew away in an instant. We ran for about 4 miles as the lieutenant had told us, but then a young Georgian named Mikaladze fell down with a broken leg. We kept running, despite him. That was our mistake. We were given a 5,000-meter penalty for abandoning our fallen comrade. I don't know about the others, but I was a complete runner. I barely managed to cover the last few meters, thinking, I'm going to fall, I'm going to fall. A week of military service passed like that. Then we got used to it. Even when they told us we'd have to run all day, we ran without flinching. The weather in Germany is strange. The sun shines until noon, and then it suddenly starts to rain. After 2 hours, the rain stops and the sky clears up again. After the rain, the sun's rays brighten the surroundings. I think there must be nightingales here too. When the sun peeks out from behind the clouds, a hearty song is heard among the branches of the trees. This sound is very similar to the singing of the nightingale in our gardens. A month later, after we took the oath, the real service began. We practiced hand-to-hand combat, judo, karate. We were also taught German very thoroughly. In order to better master the language, we were even allowed to go out into the city every now and then, accompanied by an officer, and talk to the Germans. Major Badenkopf said that in 6 months, we would have to go to West Germany and apply the knowledge we had gained there. At that time, I felt that the human race is adaptable to everything. Otherwise, it would be difficult for a human being to endure such hard work. Soon, we were full of strength and began to carry out our commander's orders even better than he had told us. After that, exercises to strengthen our perceptive powers began. They brought beehives, stripped us naked, and smeared honey all over our bodies. Then they forced us to go on a trip to the bee colony. True, it was unlikely that we would survive such a terrible disaster. Hundreds of bees swarmed from all sides, so much so that you could neither escape nor kill them. Fortunately, each soldier was only allowed to die for 3 minutes. Otherwise, they would have easily read our funeral prayers. Next to hell was a special soul-saving room, surrounded by glass on all 4 sides. After 3 minutes, its door would open. We escaped there and saved our lives. After such a wonderful training, believe it or not a single soldier recognized each other. Everyone's soul was in their throats, and pain was right at the tip of their noses. One bee sting may not be noticeable, but if you don't have a healthy place, you'll be ready for anything. The officers, who had been to their relatives and parents, and who could not resist adding pepper to their words to this day, suddenly became gentle. They asked about our families and our beloved girls. They recalled interesting events from their lives and told passionate, funny anecdotes. You see, in an instant, not a trace of nervousness remained in the soldiers. 3 days later, the same exercise was repeated. However, this time there were those who refused the order. Mekaladze in particular said nervously, "I will not humiliate myself under any circumstances." He was immediately reminded of the regulations, and the consequences of disobeying the order were explained. However, Mekaladze continued to stand firm. Then a fist unexpectedly fell on his face. The blow was so strong that the poor Georgian fell unconscious for a while. "You see, you fools," Major Batinkov roared, his eyes bulging. "He couldn't escape a single accidental blow. What hope do you have in a life-and-death battle tomorrow? Or do you have something inside you that will make you admire everything?" The soldiers bowed their heads. After all, no one was ready to be beaten. The exercise began. We had long thought about seeing one. We were a little shocked, but for some reason, no one got nervous. The Georgian also silently gave himself up to the bees. Look, we knew exactly where and how much swelling someone would get when they stung him. For 6 months, we were constantly being attacked by bees, and we became very fond of these creatures. They themselves were much less than we had been killing all the time. What we had gained was that if someone came near us while we were sleeping like a rock, we would immediately feel and avoid danger. Now we could see anything while we were asleep. Of course, we were happy that we could get out of any situation, that we had become professional fighters. However, for some reason, letters came very rarely, and the ones that did come were somehow different. That is, my brother would write to me, my sister would write to me, the signature, the content was the same. We are fine, the people at home are fine, and so on. What was the news in our neighborhood? My sister Saida was going to study? What happened? Batir was going to play football? Whether she was going to play or not, the letters from home did not say a word about these things. I was especially surprised by the response I received to my letter to Nafisa, who I was in love with and who had never heard a single sweet word from.
Dear Sabir Aka, the letter began, thank you for your sincere wishes. I have never let you out of my mind for a moment. I am always thinking about you.
I miss you. That's why I often go to that park where I spent time talking to you. Once or twice, suitors came to our house, and I would send them away. I told my father, I have a boyfriend who I love, who is now in the army. I made a promise to him. Even if I touch someone else, I won't touch him. My father understood. He sends the suitors away. My dearest Sabir, don't worry about me at all. Just come back to me and into my arms safely. Okay, goodbye. Nafisa, who loves you. It's funny, I've never met Nafisa anywhere in my life. Whenever she saw me, she would just walk away without looking back. And there's no question about her promise. As if that wasn't enough, she said, come back to my arms. I thought that this letter was written to someone else and had come to me by mistake, so I looked at the back of the envelope. No, it wasn't to someone else. It was sent to me. It seemed to me that my letter had fallen into the hands of one of Nafisa's friends, and that girl had jokingly written a letter in Nafisa's name. I was furious. I regretted writing a letter to Nafisa. She must have shown her friend my letter and laughed at me. To be honest, if I weren't in the military right now, I would have shown her what it's like to laugh at someone. Delicate. While I was wandering in such a whirlwind of thoughts, my comrade in arms from Odessa, Oleg Belasov, came up to me and told me about his troubles. I wrote a letter to my mother. I just got a reply. You know, my mother's handwriting was different. Then, when she wrote a letter to someone, she would of course mix Ukrainian. But in the reply letter, let alone the Ukrainian word, her handwriting was completely different. It looks just like my daughter's. My brother's handwriting is written in such a handwriting. At least, a man's and a woman's should be different, right? He said, frowning. I couldn't tell him anything specific, because I was also surprised about the letter. Later, I found out that all the soldiers were in the same situation, but no one complained to the commanders about it, as if this was a natural state. Only doubts arise in the heart. In the 8th month of our military service, with another airborne regiment, we conducted a training exercise together. Can you believe it? 15 of us knocked out 400 people. It was amazing. We didn't have enough strength for so many people. We stole all the documents belonging to the regiment commander and left. I think we had passed a serious test then. The day after our victory, a general visited our company. They say he was the division commander. He took each of us by the wrist. He asked us questions on a political topic. Then, you are one of 10 groups being trained in our country, he said with a smile. We rely on you more than any other military personnel. That is why you have been trained separately from the others. Yesterday, we saw the results of our training. Excellent. You almost killed the Soviet colonel. Now, guys, military, you will spend the rest of your service in a country that is not hostile to us. That is, in a capitalist country. I think you will certainly justify the trust placed in you. From today on, you are real spies. On behalf of our country, I congratulate you on achieving such a status. After the general's last words, we all shouted in unison, I serve the Soviet Union. 15 of us boys were divided into 15 cities in West Germany. At that time, we young men who had lived in the same barracks for 10 months, eaten the same food, and gone through hardships together, did not know that this would be the last time we would see each other. Moreover, we did not even imagine what dark days awaited us. But we wrote down our home addresses and agreed to meet after the end of military service. My train ended in West Berlin. There, a woman named Elizaveta, real name Anna Saranova, was waiting for me. I was given assignments through this woman. My military service document was taken away, and instead I was given a fake passport with West German citizenship. When I looked at my passport, my name was Abram, my surname was Romanov. It's not a question of a person changing from one nationality to another these days, I laughed to myself. Finding Elizaveta was not difficult for me. When I got off the train at the station, she was waiting for me. A fair-haired girl came up to me with a smile and said, "Did you get here safely, Abram?" She kissed me on the cheek and put her arm around me. I wasn't surprised by her behavior. I expected it to be like this. Besides, they asked me, "Elizaveta is acting as your wife. Have you ever been with girls before?" When I shook my head in the negative, they said, "You're lucky, young man. Anna is a very attractive girl. You'll see for yourself when you go. And let's not forget the main thing.
This is understandable, right? You're more open than before, I flattered Anna in German. Thank you, he said softly and pinched my hand lightly. We got into a taxi. We didn't talk the whole way. I just stared at the city. Frankly, it was impossible to be so absorbed in the spectacle as if we were seeing it for the first time. Even the taxi driver had to be suspicious of us. The order of the city was amazing. When I first saw East Germany, my mouth dropped open. This city was even more beautiful. The shiny cars I didn't know the names of, the streets were neat, the buildings were all impressive. But just like in the cities of the East, the people here are also full of jokes. It seemed to me that there was no more beautiful girl than Anna, who was wandering around with her own thoughts. Finally, we arrived at our destination. We went up to the third floor of a building that had been built 200 years ago. The year 1783 was written on the facade. Anna opened the door, which was no different from the others, with the number 7, with her key and invited me inside. The house was cozy. She showed me around the room with the bedroom, the kitchen, and 2 special tape recorders. Anna, how is our house? She asked with a laugh. It's not bad at all. It's cozy, I said without taking my eyes off her. But we were planning to sleep in the same bed. Don't you want to sleep with me? Anna said, putting her arms around my neck and hugging me. I wasn't surprised by her behavior. I expected it to be like this. Besides, they asked me, Elizaveta is acting as your wife. Have you ever been with girls before? When I shook my head in the negative, they said, You're lucky, young man. Anna is a very attractive girl. You'll see for yourself when you go. And let's not forget the main thing. This is understandable, right? You're more open than before, I flattered Anna in German. Thank you, he said softly and pinched my hand lightly. We got into a taxi. We didn't talk the whole way. I just stared at the city. Frankly, it was impossible to be so absorbed in the spectacle as if we were seeing it for the first time. Even the taxi driver had to be suspicious of us. The order of the city was amazing. When I first saw East Germany, my mouth dropped open. This city was even more beautiful. The shiny cars I didn't know the names of, the streets were neat, the buildings were all impressive. But just like in the cities of the East, the people here are also full of jokes. It seemed to me that there was no more beautiful girl than Anna, who was wandering around with her own thoughts. Finally, we arrived at our destination. We went up to the third floor of a building that had been built 200 years ago. The year 1783 was written on the facade. Anna opened the door, which was no different from the others, with the number 7, with her key and invited me inside. The house was cozy. She showed me around the room with the bedroom, the kitchen, and 2 special tape recorders. Anna, how is our house? She asked with a laugh. It's not bad at all. It's cozy, I said without taking my eyes off her. But we were planning to sleep in the same bed. Don't you want to sleep with me? Anna said, putting her arms around my neck and hugging me. I didn't come here to sleep with you, did I? That's it, she said, and Anna tried to throw me over her in a judo style. But more accurately, nothing happened. The girl wasn't offended. Come on, help me get up now, she said, extending her hand. Then my sensitivity briefly flipped. Anna kicked me between my legs so hard that I thought I was going to die. Bending over, I said, Sick, I said. Don't be upset, you. But she couldn't finish her sentence because she bent over. I elbowed her in the side. Now she bent over and washed her face in the bathtub, but she hadn't come to herself yet. Did I chill her? I thought, my heart racing. Then I slowly felt her neck vein. I'm alive, she said, frowning. After washing her face and neck, her color lightened a little. Don't joke with me like that again, I said, looking at her seriously. She nodded and made an okay gesture. It's still too early for me to die. Isn't it good for a person to live a good life when he comes back to his own life? I'm sorry for welcoming you like this. I won't do it again. Now go change your clothes and put your drinks on the kitchen table. We'll eat, she said. She put on her makeup before sitting at the table. To be honest, I didn't expect this from her at all. Seeing me looking at her in surprise, Anna laughed. If I sit next to you looking so beautiful, maybe you won't hit me? She laughed too at her words. Don't worry, I won't hit you, even if you pull out a knife like that. I'm embarrassed because I'm so excited for you, I said. I didn't want to do it. That's right. If you hadn't hit me, where would I have gotten you out now? If only it hadn't happened like this. Actually, I was testing you, she said, and Anna looked at the table for a moment, then got up and left. I was surprised by her action. After a while, Anna came with a bottle of vodka. I hated alcohol since I was young. Our neighbor was called Akmal. Almost every day he would drink and beat his wife, and his poor children would run away to our house because they were scared. After that, his wife died of a broken liver from the beating. Akmal soon married another woman, but this wife also couldn't stand his drinking and ran away. His children were taken by his first wife's father. Then Akmal fell seriously ill. He was hospitalized, but no one could find out about his condition, and he died in disgrace. They say that until his death, he would scold that man and say, "If you drink even a little, Akmal, you'll be like a drunkard." The first reason I disliked this drink is that when we were being trained to be spies, they poured it into our ears so that all the guards would drink it. That's why I couldn't help but see the vodka in Anna's hand. The girl immediately sensed my condition. She noticed and gave me her beautiful smile. "Don't you like alcohol?" she asked. I shook my head as if to say, "No." "You're right. Actually, I don't like it either. I'm not telling you this out of hypocrisy. Don't think that they're testing me. Some people are ready to give their lives for this glory, just to respect the great for the great, and not to be mean. We don't have this drink either, of course, for you. You'll find out why later, or maybe you won't," Anna said, straightening up as she spoke and putting herself in a line. I just touched my lips. After that, Anna and I got into a heated conversation. She talked about her youth. She proudly told me about how she had fought with 3 classmates over her first boyfriend. However, the guy who had awakened her first love in her heart had later gone off with another girl. "I've dated at least 7 guys. We've had everything. I don't regret it. I've had a wonderful time of my youth again. After all, you only get one chance to be young. Besides, dating guys is not my fault. You know, I read a book. Now I can't remember the author or the characters in the novel. What I remember is that a prostitute girl shows unparalleled heroism when an enemy invades her country. She gives her life for her homeland. But those who always look at her like worms turn a girl into unnecessary fabric, sell their own soil, the homeland where red blood was spilled. They sell in a different way. They betray. I think there's no greater betrayal than that. That's why I'll tell you honestly and truthfully, even though I've dated so many guys, my heart is pure. If necessary, I can do a man's job for her alone," she said. He thought for a moment. Then, "Have I started bragging? You know, sometimes one shouldn't consider bragging bad. You see, I've revealed myself so mysteriously. Now you speak. Tell me about the girl you love. Tell me about the best times of your youth. I'll listen," he said. I was thinking about something else at that moment. Now, Anna would ask me about the carriage service, and then she would take me to the right place. You see, Dispat is waiting for me in the siege, because he didn't say a word about how he got here, where he went through what training. He asks about the girl I love now, then turns the conversation into a mass of guys who have thought it over and prepared themselves. We weren't taught to know everything for nothing. "My youth wasn't as interesting as yours," I said with a fake smile. "What? You haven't loved anyone at this age?" he said, his eyes burning with surprise. I loved, but she didn't agree." "Did you keep saying she didn't agree? I couldn't find anyone who would agree." "Not other girls." "What if no one understands?" For nothing. I wasn't ashamed to be around you. After that, if we make love, the guy won't be close to the girl until their wedding. They just talk and talk. True, there are some secret connections." "Oh, poor thing," Anna stroked my hair. "Tell me you haven't had a daughter yet." I silently nodded my head in agreement, and she filled her glass with vodka and poured it into mine. "You take your glass," she said. "I don't drink anyway. Do I have to take it?" I said with a smile. "You will this time. You can't do it if you don't drink. Don't suspect everything. I'm saying this from the heart." Indeed, Anna had completely changed. Somehow, she was different. I can't describe it. All I understood was that now there was a devil who would either make me cry or throw the glass in my hand at my head if I didn't do what she said. And her eyes were sincere. I took the glass in my hand and, without thinking for a moment, without stopping to drink it, I drank it all the way down. The drink burned my throat. "You're a troublemaker," she said, looking at my unresponsive face. Then she also emptied her glass without haste, and without putting the glass in her hand on the table, I instantly became Anna's slave. After that, my breath was short, my body trembled, and now the girl quickly took off her clothes, first hers and then mine. Then she whispered in my ear, "Take me to bed." We will walk around the city until morning. Anna will show me the necessary objects. After that, we will return home and map what we saw. In fact, Anna knows these places like the back of her hand. I just needed to draw a map to test my memory. I can never be without memory, so I was a little annoyed with my companion, my wife. She understood my situation, but she didn't say anything. That evening, after a whirlwind of romantic games, "How long have you been here?" I asked Anna. "It's been a long time. What have you done?" she said, stroking my hair. "How many guys have come before me? Have you slept with all of them?" I said, gently stroking her head, listing them with my eyes closed. "Let's stop talking like that," Anna said, laughing, putting it out of my head and lying down, looking at the ceiling. "I just asked. I told you yesterday that it's not about sleeping with anyone." "Okay, I won't ask anymore. What are we going to do tomorrow?" "We won't leave the house. We'll wait for orders." "Okay, let's go to sleep now. Good night." The next afternoon, the order Anna had given us arrived.
An American spy is flying in from Bonn, and we need to find out what his purpose is in coming here. This assignment will not be easy to fulfill. It seems that we have only one chance, and that is to take a picture of the person who arrives. I think that American spies take special cars to pick them up and immediately take a taxi. They get off the airport like ordinary people. This could come in handy for us. "Well, can you drive a car?" Anna said, looking at me seriously. Her look was completely mysterious. "No," I said, laughing. "Oh boy," he sighed. "I didn't say anything bad. Let's make a plan. Tell me your idea." "We will both go in a car disguised as taxi drivers. He will get into either your car or mine. We both need a car for this. That won't be a problem for you." "Okay, we're here." We went to the airport in the morning. Anna went inside and checked the time of the planes arriving from Bonn and gave me full information about it. There wasn't a single taxi around us until the first plane landed. I got off the ground, got off the sky, and as soon as the plane landed, taxis were everywhere. I had seen such a scene in our country. I thought it probably didn't happen in this country. I counted the three of them. The same scumbags were shouting everywhere. Regardless of nationality, everyone loved money the same. The person we were expecting from the first plane didn't come. We didn't even meet him from the second. Just when we were starting to worry, have we missed him? The third plane landed. Anna and I immediately went to the airport exit. This time, the client appeared more often. Laughing, Anna went up to him, clutching her bag to the insurance agent, and asked if he needed a taxi. No one would say no to such a beautiful taxi driver. "Oh, yes," said the American. "With a scoundrel like you, of course. I'll go with you." Anna gave him a gentle smile and took her bag in her hand. I think the bag was heavier because Anna was dragging it a little. That guy didn't even notice the woman suffering. I followed behind Anna. I walked 5 or 6 steps behind them. The client looked around anxiously 2 or 3 times without Anna noticing. So someone must have met him. I wasn't mistaken. An old Mercedes also followed Anna's car. I followed it. Of course, I was in contact with my partner via a special communication device. "Is this your first time in Berlin?" asked Anna. "Yes," answered the client, "but I have dreamed of coming to Berlin since I was young. It is a historical city." "Where did you learn German? You speak it well." "Thank you. To be honest, I studied it myself. The magic of Berlin's alphabet is the reason for this." "But you yourself do not look like a German woman." "Yes," Anna praised the joker. "You distinguish nations well from each other." "I am a Slav. To be more precise, my mother is Swedish, my father is Polish, a mestizo." "I thought otherwise. You are closer to Russians than Slavs." "Of course, in appearance." "What did you say? Did you smell something?" "Everyone says so," said Anna. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. "I don't know how people know, but that's my profession, a publicist. I've been to Russia. I studied at Lomonosov University. The people there are like you." "Really?" Anna said with a laugh.
Then of course, I'll go to Russia. You've inspired me to want to see people like me. If you want to go to Russia, I'll take you myself. It's colder places, but there are many cities worth seeing. We haven't met you yet. How do you take me? Anna laughed again. My name is Max. And mine is Elizabetha. Then we'll do it this way. I don't like being in debt. First, I'll show you Berlin. I understand that this is your first visit. Then you can repay your debt. Max seemed not to have expected the conversation to turn out this way and fell silent for a while. I think he was thinking, and I accepted Anna's skill. By this time, we were almost in the city center. The hotel Max had mentioned was also in sight. Now, according to the plan, Anna had to arrange another meeting with the client. Let me let you go once more, Max said after a short pause. You are incredibly beautiful. It's mind-boggling that such beautiful girls drive taxis. You should have been a model. If you don't believe me, you can ask anyone. You're flattering. I believe in my beauty myself. Maybe I did what others told me, and I could have been a model. But my stubbornness, my one-word nature, and my dislike of men made me a taxi driver, Anna said with a deep sigh.
Moreover, those two were just talking about it, making each other nervous. I'm inviting you to a party, Max said at one point. Why so soon? Anna asked. I think we understand each other very well. You're shy, Anna admitted. They stood up. I suddenly picked up the newspaper on the table. I had just spilled some oil and kicked it. It seemed to me that Max was looking at me. Finally, the door opened and closed. I waited a moment because Max might have a tantrum. I couldn't stay here much longer at this point. So I looked around the restaurant one by one. No one aroused my suspicions. I slowly got up and headed for the door. Outside, the people I had been watching had stopped a taxi and were now getting into their cars. I immediately stepped out onto the side of the road. Luckily, the taxi stopped right away. After we had walked a little, I turned around and looked back. The black Merc I had seen in the middle of the road had followed me. It turns out that the whole thing is over. They noticed, Sakina told Anna over the intercom. At that moment, she was asking Max how women in England were dressing these days. Her voice changed slightly when she heard my news. The car in front was heading out of town for some reason. This was completely unexpected, because Max had never told Anna about going out of town. When Anna sensed what was going through my mind, she asked Max, "Where are we going?" "I want to surprise you," Max said with a laugh. His laugh was different, sarcastic. Meanwhile, the driver driving next to me looked at me strangely. Suddenly, a suspicion arose in my mind, and I thought, so, Anna and I are about to get caught. The car in which Anna was sitting stopped at the first stop we met after leaving the city. Why did we stop? Anna's question remained unanswered. Instead, she said, "Okay, let's talk for a moment. What did you say?" Max said. "Did you have to stop the car just to talk?" Anna laughed. At that moment, our car stopped too. As soon as I looked at the driver, pretending to be surprised, he pointed his gun and said, "You've arrived at your destination, young man," he said with an ugly grin. I realized that I was not very skilled at using a weapon when I was holding the driver's pistol. "Are you trying to arrest me in this condition?" I laughed at him. At that moment, I showed myself to be even more embarrassed. "What are you saying? Drive the car," I said, feeling a little embarrassed. "Don't make yourself a slave. We know very well what you're going for. If you tell me what you don't know, together with that wife—" The driver's remaining words were choked. With a swift movement, I took the pistol from his hand and stabbed him in the heart. The poor thing only grunted once. Then his head was put in the sleeve. I pulled the knife out of his chest because how much blood would have been spilled? Finally, the black Mercedes that was following us stopped behind the car in which we were sitting. I threw the dead body of the driver next to me into the back seat and opened the driver's door myself. As I expected, 4 men got out of the Merc, and one of them started to approach me. I quickly took out my rifle from the inside pocket of my suit. The approaching enemy took a bullet in the forehead and fell, and the second one did not leave in peace either. However, we exchanged fire with the other 2 for a long time. From what I could see, it seemed that the squall with them was gradually being settled.
Taking advantage of the fact that the opponents were shooting from under the car and from the rear window, I rolled down the slope on the side of the road and quickly crawled to their rear. It took a little more than a minute with the help of a scythe. The moon had not yet risen, and it was pitch black everywhere, and only the trail of bullets whizzed by could be seen. One of the enemies died inside the car. The other one, leaning against the door for a moment, then collapsed to the ground. "Anna, how are you?" I asked after I had finished. "Come on," she said. I quickly reached the car where Anna was sitting. The driver was lying dead, hanging from the door, and Max was in the back seat, with Anna pointing a gun at him. We drove under the bridge and headed towards the forest. Anna told me to drive the car this way. I thought, I need a quieter place so I can sort out everything with Max. After turning off the main road onto a small path leading into the forest, we walked for about 5 kilometers before stopping at a small house that resembled a hut. Anna had not warned me that there was such a place here. I looked at my companion in surprise. "It takes time to learn everything," he said with a laugh. We questioned Max for about half an hour. He turned pale, did not hear anything, did not answer any questions. Finally, I could not stand it. I punched him in the face. He fell backwards. I grabbed his collar and turned him towards me. And when I was about to punch him again, I heard a sick voice say, "Don't be in a hurry," I said. Hope rose in my heart. "Well, tell me, who sent you here and why?" I said, staring at him with wide eyes. "I have a daughter. She's 5 years old. She loves me very much," Max said in a tearful voice. I stared at her as she held her by the collar. My sister, Faragat, appeared before my eyes. My daughter is now 5 years old. Every time I come home, she says, "I'll be a donkey, I'll ride a donkey, I'll set you on fire." Her innocent eyes sparkle. Her voice is so steady and her movements are so harmonious that one's heart melts. "Very good. If you have a daughter, answer all the questions we ask. Then we'll let you go, and you can go to your daughter, who loves you more than anything," Anna said, coming up to me in a soft voice. "They'll kill me if I tell you the information. Then my daughter will never see me again," Max would complain. "You know, I'm someone's beloved daughter, but you were ready to kill me. Why didn't you think of that?" she said, and Anna kicked him in the arm. Max flinched from the unexpected blow. We had to beat him for a long time. Finally, Max, looking at her sweetly, told her everything.